Ready? All right, I call the Village of Rhinebeck Planning Board meeting for July 18th, 2023 to order. First item on the agenda is Amalgamated Agricultural Associates, 6282 Route 9, special use permit to change the farm market to the Dutchess County Historical Society as a tenant in the building. Would you like to make a people are quite aware of what this is about, where they're catching the pilot. You want to make a little brief presentation and then open up the public hearing. Do you want to open the public hearing before?
It's up to you, Chair.
Yeah, all right. I'll make it. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, hi, good evening. Victoria Polidoro from Rodenhausen Shaw Polidoro, here on behalf of Amalgamated Agricultural Associates, LLC, and Dutchess County Historical Society. The applicant is seeking site plan and special use permit approval to convert the property from an agricultural use to a library. The field will continue to remain in agricultural use. They're only looking to convert the existing structure on the property. For most of you, the structure will be very familiar. It's often called the former Hobson's building. It was a commercial structure, and it's recently underwent a significant makeover to have more of a farmhouse look to fit in character with the neighborhood. A library use is a permitted use in the district, provided you issue a special use permit and site plan approval. In November of 2018, the property was approved as an agricultural use for a farm market and cafe, and all of the improvements that were required to be installed for that use have been installed. So this proposal involves very minimal alterations to the site. In fact, most of the alterations will make the use more consistent with the neighborhood. For example, under the farm market use, there was a commercial dumpster located in the parking lot. The applicant tonight has indicated that there will not be a commercial-sized dumpster. They will just use regular refuse bins consistent with the neighborhood. Another change would be the elimination of some of the outdoor seating tables. One will remain, but the others will be removed. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill Jeffway from the Dutchess County Historical Society to talk a little bit about the proposed use of the building.
Thank you. I'm Bill Jeffway, the Executive Director. I've been with the Historical Society for 5 years, since I retired. And I feel it's important to first explain what kind of historical society we are, because they vary a great deal. So, for example, in Columbia County, they operate historic homes. And the Dutchess County Historical Society was born in a meeting in the spring of 1914 at the Pleasant Valley Free Library by a bunch of bookish people. And we've always had an orientation since then toward research and publishing. So we published the New York State's oldest historical journal, the Dutchess County Historical Society Yearbook. And we have what we call occasional publications that we've published. Among the earlier authors were Franklin Roosevelt during his polio years, who wrote books on behalf of the Historical Society, kind of set a tone and an example for others. So we've always had a publishing orientation. In our first 60 years of existence, we did not have a specific building. We relied on the Adrian's Library in Poughkeepsie to hold our collections, and then in 1979, early 80s, we were able to move into where we're located now, Clinton House. Clinton House is owned by New York State. The idea at the time was to try to have some sort of museum there. That never really materialized. There are several reasons. Among them, it's not really, some of the history of the house was misunderstood, so that concept of the Historical Society branching out into this broader use didn't materialize. So our core business remains library, publishing, and collections and archives. That's the least visible thing to the public. In terms of staff, we have, I am the only staff member, technically 20 hours a week. And I work, we have another volunteer who's especially helpful on collections. So the biggest job we have is the maintenance, preservation, and care of the archives that we've been collecting since 1914. They're largely documents, there's some photographs, we have some objects, some textiles. But in terms of the character of what we do and how we operate, we're more about conserving and protecting and preserving those archives but in a way that makes it accessible for the public to come to understand them as well. So I think those are the main points.
Okay.
Just a few procedural notes. You did hear back from Dutchess County Planning on the application for
Yes.
39M, and they said it was a matter of local concern. I'd like a few minutes after the public hearing to talk about the sign. You'll recall.
Yes, so I have a question.
Sure.
We have a letter from the zoning enforcement officer, whereas, and ends up saying, in the review of all the facts and findings, it's determination of this office that the proposed inquiry by Amalgamated Agricultural Associates and Dutchess County Historical Society to operate a library use operation is a specially permitted use in the residential zoning district subject to a special permit and amended site plan. So the zoning enforcement officer says that's okay to proceed, and we're here tonight to have a public hearing and then vote on the special permit to allow the Dutchess County Historical Society to occupy the building as a tenant. Any members from the public want to make a comment?
Hello, I'm Nancy Kelly. I'm commenting just to give you a little background information about the collection that we propose to give to the Historical Society. My husband Arthur is a graduate of Cornell and was teaching at Germantown Central School until his retirement. In 1965, he began a business of transcribing and indexing church and historical records. And the early ministers wrote in a combination of German script and Latin and English, and it's difficult for an average person to read that manuscript, and so his transcriptions are very helpful. And he has done over 350 records now, they're important because the early settlement of this area was by the Dutch and the English, and also the Palatines from Germany. And a lot of the relatives of these early settlers still live in the area and have spread all across the United States. And we did travel to many conferences with these records, and also purchased books for our library from all different sources. So we have a very large collection that we would like to house with the Historical Society. And the Dutchess County Historical Society would then be very visible here on Route 9, and hopefully very useful for people in the county to use. So if you'll give it consideration.
Thank you, Nancy. Anybody else like to make a comment?
I will.
Okay.
So I am William P. Tatum III, PhD, the Dutchess County Historian. I have served the County of Dutchess for coming up on 11 years and worked closely with the Dutchess County Historical Society throughout that time. It is the single most important collection of material relating to the history of Dutchess County, which of course includes the town and village of Rhinebeck and all of the preceding municipalities that stretch back into the colonial period. This is an absolutely essential collection for understanding our shared past and heritage, one that is not accessible at its current location. A move to the proposed property here in Rhinebeck would finally grant the level of access that this collection deserves. It would be a huge boon to the history community here in Rhinebeck because it would bring additional collections of Rhinebeck-related material right here to the village where people can enjoy it. And it would, of course, also be an additional draw for heritage tourism and other visitors because people will want to use that collection. And of course, it's very convenient to stay here in the village as well as to dine in the village and partake of other opportunities. So I would urge you to grant this special permit because it is a win for the county, it is a win for Rhinebeck, it is a win for everyone who cares about Dutchess County history. Thank you.
Anyone else care to comment? Yes.
I'm Patricia Carol Mathis, and I'm a almost 50-year resident of the village, but also a retired librarian who's worked a lot with historical materials. And I think it would be only a plus for the village. For one thing, it might bring more people here during the week. We don't need any more people on weekends. But clearly better access is needed, and I would hope that the society would continue to make its resources more available. And I think it'd be a great thing for the village.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mathis. Is that M-A-T-H-I-S? Yes.
No. You want to know how you spell your last name? M-A-T-H-E, Matthews?
My name?
Yeah.
Carol Mathis, M-A-T-H-E-S.
Yes, thank you.
Anybody else like to make a comment?
I would. I came for something different, but I'm Christiane Ine Crouch. I am a historian of early colonial America. I am a Dean of Graduate Studies at Bard, and I cannot support this strongly enough. I agree with my colleague, Dr. Tatum, that having these kinds of resources readily available to the community, especially as there's an increasing emphasis on public-facing historical work, is absolutely vital. And as a research scholar who has spent a great deal of time in archives that are inaccessible, I cannot emphasize enough what a boon it is to new scholarship and new opportunities to teach our children from K through 12, as well as in higher education, by having resources that can be readily accessed by car or by walking in the village. So I can also attest to the incredible community work that the Dutchess County Historical Society has made in reaching out to a multiplicity of constituencies. So this would be, I think, a tremendous benefit for the village, for the town, and for the community at large.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? Okay. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Jeff, second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay, so would anybody on the board like to make a comment?
I would start, I have a family relationship with this organization. My mother was a county historian, like this gentleman. She was also president of the Dutchess County Historical Society. And I have hours and hours of stories going back 30, 40 years ago and how hard it was to have records stored correctly and the inattention of politicians years ago to help her, and she did a tremendous amount, and she would be thrilled to see this come up here.
Jeff, Darren, any comments?
Not necessarily. I mean, it seems like the right thing for the site and certainly of lesser impact than what was previously proposed there on many, many counts. So I don't see any reason to not be in favor of it.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all for your comments. I happen to have been at the current location of the Dutchess County Historical Society in Poughkeepsie. It's not easy to get to. It's frightening to park at.
Yes.
And the facilities are just not as easily available as you would want them to be. So I think this is really a win-win for everyone that utilizes the Historical Society and can come to Rhinebeck and stop for lunch after they're done.
So Victoria has sent, did you guys get a chance to take a look at a 3-page resolution? We're usually less formal than this, so we're just I was going to make a motion to approve but we got the street. Did you read it? Does anybody have a problem with Victoria's words?
I thought it was fine.
Because we can make a motion to approve the attached resolution. And,
Chairman, before you vote, though, can I just bring up this issue of the sign?
yeah, well, I like, the sign looked fine. I'd like not to be on the rusty poles, and you have to submit a sign application.
That's exactly my issue. So the last time we were here in 2018, a big discussion was had about the location of the sign where it is. And because it was a non-conforming location,
Right.
we were advised that we had to maintain that rusty structure.
Right.
And so the applicant will be submitting a separate sign application, but we are hoping that you will allow us to either replace the rusty structure with a wood structure at the same, same dimensions, because it would be much more aesthetically pleasing, or to encase the rusty structure with wood so that we're not looking at
That should be addressed
rusty
lines
pipes.
first.
But we officially need a sign application.
I'm aware, but the reason I bring it up is because there's a note on the plan. There was a note on the plan from 2018 that...
Yeah, we know you were holding as a placeholder, so we wouldn't lose we have, I think, 2 or 3 locations of the village that have off-premises signs, and they were grandfathered. So you were holding this place to grandfather. We don't have a problem with that.
I just want to make sure there's there's no notes on this plan that need to be amended in order to allow them to propose a more aesthetically pleasing sign.
I don't have a problem.
No final CO has been issued.
Right.
So if you want to present an amended site plan with different language on it, it can be reviewed.
I think we'd just like to add a condition to the resolution, just saying that, applicant shall submit separately for a sign permit and board will consider, a new structure. It doesn't mean you have to approve it.
So you want to put it on the 3-page resolution?
Yes. Yeah.
Can we
I think that's appropriate with this one.
Can we amend a prior site plan with this resolution for special permit?
You are amending the prior site plan tonight. So the site plan was approved and signed, and so tonight you will be amending it to make some minor modifications. We updated the parking calculations to be a library instead of a cafe. The stormwater is the same. We took off an extra parking spot on the crops area. We took off the dumpster. So it will be a modification of the amended site plan.
So do we want to add that the sign on Route 9 will be on the plans, or you want to put it on the new plan?
I think we can acknowledge the existence of the sign, where it is, and the size and shape.
That was acknowledged on
And
the
that
old
we-
plan,
But it required it to be kept exactly intact, right?
Yeah, it says the existing sign within the frame is to be replaced with a sign of equal size. And so we just want some confirmation that you would consider updating the frame.
I don't want, the frame looks terrible, so yes,
Okay.
we want to change the frame.
So I would propose a condition 2 that says applicant shall return for approval of a sign, of a freestanding sign, which may include updating the frame.
Can you get that to Ryan, an updated
Yeah,
version of this
sure.
to attach
Send it
to
tonight.
the minutes and,
No problem.
okay. So,
Just a few questions. So then, in the resolution here, you mentioned parking, and is that what you're addressing in point number 3?
Right, so in order for the board to grant a special use permit, you're supposed to review the special use permit findings in the code. So one of the findings you have to make is that the project has adequate parking for the proposed use accessible to fire, police, emergency vehicles. So we identified your zoning law requirement, which is 1 space per 400 to 1,000. It's flexible. And even if we use the most conservative calculation, 1 per 400, we still exceed the
there's 18 parking spots. So
There's 18
way
off-street
more
parking
than you
spaces.
ever need.
Yeah.
That answer your question, Jeff?
Yes, and just one other question about, you mentioned lighting on one of the points here. Which one is that?
So the project does have lighting. I believe the poles are already installed.
They're all there.
As part of the farm market. And so when the planning board reviewed the farm market proposal, we were very cognizant of the nearby residential uses. And so there was a note on the plans about turning off the lights at a certain time. The lights are installed and we do not want to remove them because in the winter it gets dark very early and lights are needed for safety. But they will commit to putting the lights on a timer, at least, the parking lot lights, so that they go off.
Yeah, and it says the lighting is limited to only that which is necessary to allow visitors and employees to safely get into their cars in the evening and will be turned off an hour after closing time. And closing time is what time?
So the max it could be in the summer is until 9 p.m. when it's still basically bright, and then in the winter until 8 p.m. But generally they only operate, their hours are generally until 5 p.m. It would only be that if they had to make an after-hours appointment for someone who was traveling, or they were having, a talk or something that night, that they would operate beyond that. And those are the same hours that were approved for the farm market. So again, it's going to be less of an impact because there's not going to be the traffic in and out on those days.
Okay, so you're saying those specific criteria were previously approved?
Correct.
All right, okay. And no other questions?
Okay, can I have a motion to approve the special use permit for Amalgamated Agricultural Associates in Dutchess County Historical Society?
Before we get there, I'm sorry.
As per attached, go ahead.
I have a couple of changes to the resolution, though. We're going to use this resolution, so is this the one we're voting on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So just a couple minor things. A housekeeping thing is the date is the 17th of July at the top, so today's the 18th, right? So we should just change that to the date of the public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Mine's at 17th. So.
Oh, the public hearing date.
Yeah, the public hearing date, just to be correct about that.
Yep.
And then in paragraph 1, second paragraph in sort of the finding, the use is a permitted use in the district. I think we should just clarify that it's a special permit use in the district rather than just an as-of-right, flat-out permitted use.
You can add the use as a specially permitted use.
Especially permitted use is fine. And then we do a good job of, thanks to Victoria's help, we do a good job of listing findings up through 6, but we stop short of 7, 8, and 9. Excuse me, I know you took a stab at 7 there. But I do think we should finish out the findings and have something to say about 7, 8, and 9 in the resolution. So the ones that haven't been fully addressed in this resolution, number 7 is consistency with the principles established in the village center, residential, medical, and professional fairgrounds and gateway business sections of this chapter. So in other words, it's consistent with what we have in this case, the standards for the residential district that we're dealing with here. And then in number 8, consistency with the requirements for site plan approval, which is an easy one. We've established that here tonight. And then number 9, compatibility with generally accepted planning standard utilized by the village of Rhinebeck. So those 3 things aren't fully explored in this resolution.
You want to spell out the code?
I think we want to spell out the code, but then also make the finding that we do concur that all 3 of those tests have been made. And I think they're all simple tests. The ones further up the list are more detailed, but just to have a complete set of findings.
Okay, I can add in the
So
statements
would
from
you be
the-
able to get a final copy of this to Ryan to attach to the minutes? So we have it for the record.
Sure.
And then, of course, the part about the sign.
Okay.
And with that, I would be happy to make a motion.
Okay.
All right.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Look forward to having you there.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your comments.
Next item on the agenda is the new sign at the emergency room at the hospital. Is Paul here?
He is. All in the back.
There he is. You can have a seat there. I guess.
Okay. So we're staying for the sign?
We've seen the sign, and the question that we have,
Okay.
Thanks a lot, that was beautiful.
Okay. Will and Bill know how to get
The
it.
question that we have about the sign is that it's larger than is allowed, and that technically should need an application for a variance. But it was pointed out. No, excuse me, okay. It was pointed out that when the last construction of the hospital was completed, they put a larger than allowed sign up there. I don't know, it was Rosenthal or Sosanoff Pavilion. That was also larger than is allowed, and we did not go for a variance. We allowed the hospital to do it because I think it matched the size of the sign that was already there in the other building. So the question for us is, do we want them to fill out a sign and go to the ZBA for a variance, or are we happy enough to say that this sign is okay? In my opinion, the Rosenthal and Sosanoff Pavilion face Route 9. The whole world sees it as they drive by. This is on the side of the building above the ER, where no one's going to see it unless they're running in, bleeding or something into the ER, and they're not going to look up and see the sign. So I don't see as it's a major intrusion, and we have established in the past a precedent of not having to go for a variance for a larger than allowed sign on the hospital. So I don't know how other people feel. Ryan pointed out, was it Sosanoff or Rosenthal?
No, the Sosanoff sign chair, that did have to go for a variance. That was before me. That was back in 2013 when...
And the Rosenthal sign...
The sign that was brought up is the New Vance Northern Duchess sign that exists over the porte cochere or car, whatever you call that, over the main entrance going into the hospital.
Okay. So how do you feel about this?
I guess the question is, do we have the authority to approve a sign that exceeds the code without a variance?
I don't know, we did it in the past for the hospital, so.
I mean, technically, the hospital exists in a residential district. It has no zoning district. So anything technically that they do, you have to go through all of these steps to do it.
So, do we want to
I don't know if
send
you recall, but 2 years ago when they wanted to build a new parking lot, they came to us, you guys said, we'll see you for site plan. They never came back.
Right.
Because you have a quote-unquote commercial entity or illegal non-conforming operating in a...
So basically it's in a gray area. It's not quite clear. We can make them go for a variance. We can make a positive and negative recommendation for the largest sign and go to the ZBA in August, whatever. But
And then they come
it's
back
up
in
to the board.
September
They have to come back
for final
official
approval.
final approval of the sign in September.
Would the ZBA ask them to apply for a variance? Is that standard procedure?
It starts with us. We have to make recommendations to the ZBA for a variance, but like Ryan said, this hospital in the residential district is a gray area that's existed forever. And so it's difficult to, we could make a positive recommendation to the ZBA and send them to the ZBA if that's what the board wants to do.
I mean, this sign is larger than the new Vance Northern Duchess sign by the main entrance.
Right.
This sign is 40 square feet, am I correct? Paul, is that?
This is the first time in a long time I'm not involved with New Vance any longer. This is my brother's project, but he's an Ulster County guy, so he doesn't come over here. He does all the stuff in Ulster. I think I have a variance application here.
So based on the cover letter that was provided, it's 49 square feet. That is the proposed
And what would be allowed?
wall. Allowed is 30 square feet.
30. So we can either approve it, or we can make a recommendation to the ZBA. How do you feel about it?
Well, my sense is if 30 square feet was allowable, but this is 49, they should apply for a variance. We should review it and then make a recommendation to the ZBA. I don't see that, you know, because as Clerk Ryan points out, this is in the residential district. We don't have a separate hospital overlay.
Right, we almost got there, but...
There have been signs approved in the past. I suspect there won't be a problem with it, but I can't say there won't be. But I think we should do that before we send it to the, before we make a recommendation.
You have the variance application. That was part of their submission package.
Oh, you have it?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's right there.
So we can vote on a positive or negative recommendation.
May I just have a couple of comments. The reason it's the size that it is simply because the amount of the gift was similar in size to the other major gifts from the Sosnoff and the Rosenthal family. I think it's important to the donor. It's also important to the foundation to acknowledge the gift and the magnitude of that gift. So a positive recommendation would be appreciated. We historically, over the past, 10, 15, probably almost, I started with them in 2003, so it's 20 years. We've been working with the hospital, and it's grown dramatically. It's an amazing resource for the village and the town and the surrounding area. That being said, we're not looking for special treatment, and if the variance is required to do that, and you guys seem able to provide a favorable recommendation, that's appreciated. But I guess we fully expect to apply for the variance. And
Let me just interrupt in here, Paul. Now that Ryan Down's corrected me, we have the variance application here.
Yes.
Right. I would say this, in that case, we have all of the information was needed to submit for this. We have photographs of what this will look like. It is not in the front of the building. It's on the side of the building. It's inoffensive. It says what it is. To be honest, I have no problem with this. And I would motion for a positive recommendation for a variance with the finding that it is a hospital, not a residence. We have approved such signs in the past. For something as important as the emergency room, it's essential that people can see what that door is. But it's not invasive on the neighborhood, so I don't see that there's a problem with it.
And I would add that it matches the size of the other lettering on the other parts of the building.
Okay.
It's large lettering. All right, so do we have a second?
Wait a minute, Chair. Paul, it's not going to be lit, correct?
no illumination.
I would second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Take a little longer.
It's okay.
Thanks.
With those three reasons. Why? Positive recommendation.
The last item on the agenda is 18 Livingston Street, Christian and Crouch, site plan review, proposed renovations to the west wall of an existing garage and repair of the foundation. Oh, that's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. It's Christian Eine.
Oh, Christian,
It's
I'm
okay,
terrible.
it's tricky.
I'm terrible with names. That's the advantage of having a name, David Miller. It's someone that no one ever asked me how to spell. So we looked at this. We've got a letter from the neighbor. I was concerned. We had a pre-meeting with Ryan and Michael and I was concerned about you'd have to access. It's on the property line, so you have to access the property, the neighbor's property, do the work. Would they have an objection? We got a letter from the neighbor saying they have no objection to you going on their property to repair this thing. And the plans that we saw, is it's on the property line, but it's not, what Michael and I went over was it's not any larger, it's not increasing, it's right on the property line. And it's just replacing a wall of the building which is decaying. And is that what I
Correct.
understand?
It's repairing the foundation.
Questions?
So this is it here,
Correct.
right on the property line.
Correct.
And this is the wall you're repairing?
Correct. That is the wall, the western wall.
Okay.
It looked to me like there was a lot of vegetation from your neighbor that was right up against it from the street. Is that the way it is?
What the vegetation that you see is before you get to the garage. So their fence runs along the property line, and they have a dogwood and several large hydrangeas and a redbud that you can see, but those are in front of where the wall is.
Doesn't go along that wall?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see it on there. It's a kind of like a, is it a parking area that they have back there, or is it just lawn in the spot you'd be disturbing?
Where their yard is?
Yeah,
It's lawn.
it's lawn.
Their parking area is in front of their entrance.
And what is the building section? I see it's called out to be replaced in hardy board. What is it today? Is it wood siding on the exterior of that?
It's wood shingle, cedar
Wood
shingle.
shingles.
Yeah.
Okay. So replacing wood cedar shingles with
This section here?
No, that's the house itself.
That's not
Garage.
It's the one to the right, which is the accessory structure.
All right, well, when you say, is this this is a proposal to use hardy
Correct, that
board?
is the proposal. It's currently cedar
shake.
shake, like
Cedar
the
shake.
house. Mhm.
Okay. These two windows are to be eliminated,
Yes,
and these will remain?
those will remain.
No, for the benefit of one of our members who's not here tonight, the hardy board will be smooth hardy board?
I assume
Do you
so.
know?
I don't.
There's a difference between,
One side is smooth and the other one has a texture, and
The texture looks like fake wood.
Fake
and
grain.
looks like fake grain wood. The smooth hardy board looks, you can't tell the difference between that and cedar. So we always say, please don't use the hardy board. It has the grain in it because it looks like it's fake. Whereas the smooth hardy board looks like wood and you can't tell the difference.
so it will look like smooth clapboard.
Correct,
Yes.
correct.
just to clarify, none of this is visible from the road at all.
No, you can't see, it's up against the property line on the side of the building. It can't be seen from anything.
We made that distinction before, being careful about things that are visible
Yeah.
versus not visible. So just to
Absolutely.
clarify, this is a non-visible
This is not
situation. The
visible.
elimination of the windows, none of that's visible.
Correct.
Okay. Right, so this would be the street side?
No,
That's
that's the
the-
side that faces the municipal parking lot. The other side is the street side.
Okay. All right. And your point there is not being visible from the street.
It's tucked way behind the house.
It's way, this is it here.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, yeah, that's,
You can't see it, I mean, even if you're standing
yeah.
further back on the street.
Pretty
you can
easy,
see
right?
that from the
It
street.
didn't seem like it, just wanted to make sure we were clear on that.
We really like that people come in and want to preserve the barns. A lot of barns on the property in the village have been torn down in the past. And we love that people are coming in to preserve the barns.
I'm a historian.
Yes, of course. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Michael? Nope. Okay, do I have a motion to approve the renovations to the existing wall of the garage at 18 Livingston Street?
No motion?
Kev?
I'll second
According
it.
to the site plan here and the letters received from the neighbors that find it
Yes.
acceptable.
And Michael seconds. All those in favor?
With the condition that
Smooth hardy board.
Smooth hardy board. I know, I wrote it down.
John's not here. We're looking out for him. Okay, carries 4-0. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we come to agreement on how many minutes we finalized and are up for vote?
Well, I sent out myself 3 on the, let's see, on the 12th, I sent out my comments on the minutes of May 16th. Then on Saturday, I sent my comments on the minutes of the 6th, and on Sunday, my comments on the minutes of the 20th, which I believe I added to Darren's comments on the minutes of the 20th. So we have 3. If you...
Do we have final versions of them?
Well,
that Ryan could... We can wait till
typically in the
August
past,
1st.
I've shown the comments that we've all made, and then if we approve them as amended, I
Send the final ones to
send the
Ryan
finals.
Post.
But the question is, have you had time to look at them?
I
or
looked
do we-
at them. I was fine with them all.
You're fine with them all? You're fine with them all?
Yeah.
In that case,
Need one motion at a time.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 16, 2023 as amended.
I'm abstaining because I wasn't here.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. I'll make another motion to approve the minutes of June 6, 2023 as amended.
I'll second.
Wait, Jeff, that's the one with Stickle?
I believe so. Let me bring it up. 6-6.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and you've got yours in here too.
Yep.
Yes, that's the one.
Got it.
So that's June 6th.
I'd make that motion if it hasn't been made already.
I'll second the motion. Jeff?
All those in favor?
Aye. I'll make a final motion to approve the minutes of June 20th, 2023 as amended. I didn't see anyone else's. These are this is the amended version that I sent out.
I was absent, so I'm abstaining.
Yeah.
Didn't edit.
And this had to do with the 51, mostly the 51 Violet Place, where they wanted to put an addition for a stairwell into the driveway.
Right. That's
and-
going to the ZBA. Went to the ZBA?
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thursday it's going to the ZBA.
And in fact, we've already sent, I believe we've already sent that.
Positive and negative
Negative
recommendation.
recommendation to the ZBA on it.
Yeah, so that's what that one was.
So you want to make a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, we're catching up on the minutes.
All right.
All right, folks, we're going to executive session to discuss some matters with our attorneys. So just going to turn off the camera, and we're going to, I want someone to make a motion.
Oh, we better make the motion before I turn the video off.
I want to make a motion, I will make a motion to go into executive session and to end the meeting when the executive session is over, so we can have that recorded that the meeting was ended. I'll make that motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion, Jeff.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. We can turn the camera off and then